about this. And so this way of drawing things, you know, without getting in here and doing all of this modeling and whatever, you know, the great thing about it is it's really easy to change. If you want to change something, you just take it out. Maybe I want this over here. The other guy over there. Some very horizontal things going on here. Put in the white thing or leave it out if you like. You got the Miller Brewing Company over there if you like it. And then you have all these neat little switchbacks in the water. And then we have that great tree. It looks like there's a bird in that tree. Wow. That's a big nest.
A big nest.
We're looking at
I wish I brought my binoculars.
I know it.
an osprey or an eagle. I know we have eagles.
Osprey aren't here, are they?
Not down here. Oh, we do have ospreys.
I mean,
have
in California.
We
Here?
got pelicans too. Look at that.
I don't know how the hell we can.
We do have there are.
That's an egret.
Is it? Oh, okay. All right. So then I think maybe I'll put my tree right on here. Okay. And then I'll have a little land mass. Okay, good enough. And maybe even a duck or two.
Whack, whack.
Whack, whack. Oh, my language. Now, also, it's a good enough color. I can come back and modify it later, but it's good enough and the value is good enough. Mostly the value is good enough. I'm more concentrating on the value of it and not so much the color. Maybe possibly even a little lighter. All right. Here, good enough. And then background mountains. Just say the name of it. Say the name of the color in your head. I'm gonna say it's a blue gray. So I take my blue, touch a touch of orange in it, just to grade a little bit. And let's see how the value looks up there. Is that dark enough? I want them to recede, maybe just a touch darker. Maybe thicker. That gives me a good value. The background. Now I'm going to go for the foreground mountains. I notice this mountain in the foreground is a little richer in color than the other ones, the other foothills in the background, but they're pretty similar. So I'm going to group them together. I'm seeing more red and orange in that green. Even though it's got a lot of atmosphere in it. Look at that. A little red. Just in there. And so just lay it in. So what I was saying is that this part over here has got more saturation to it than this part. But at this point, I think I want to just keep them the same, keep this thing as simple as possible. So I'm going to go down to the vegetation there. And the same with the vegetation. I know in the background you might have things that are grayer, and the foreground things are darker. But what I'm going to do here is make myself up. I'm seeing a lot of green, much darker value, and a little bit of red in that green. I'm going to use magenta because it's a bluer red, and that's pretty dark. If I put that down there, that's just going to be too dark. So lighten it up with white. And it's got so much blue in it, I don't think I have to add blue. Usually I would add blue to it. I'm just going to generalize that color with something like that. And remember, that color is being flicked down into the water. A lot of that's being pushed down into the water. And if you look at the water, even though it's really ripply, if I were thinking ahead, I would have done this while we're still on the brush. I would have taken these colors and pulled them down into the water. Sometimes when I'm thinking more than one step ahead of myself, you can really see the mountains in the water here. It just depends on how ripply it is. It does here too. Look at the water. Golden. I agree with you. Probably look at the color on the water. How golden it is. The pond scum. Again, pond scum. Alright. So. And then some of this blue from the mountain. That's why it's a little easier to do when it's still on your brush. There we go. At least we're covered. That's what's so great about not getting too detailed with your drawing. At this point, I can look at it and say, oh, okay, what kind of adjustments do I need to make? You know, I know I have a lot of stuff here in the background. And by the way, look, when I mix this stuff with the background, look how far away it looks. Like instant atmosphere. Hello, Rebecca. Did you get my email?
Good morning.
Did you get my email?
What was it?
What water does is it just takes what's there. If you look right here, you can see it really well. You see how the sky comes into the mountain with the ripples, and then the mountain comes into the sky a little bit? So most of the activity is on the edges. Then you do have little things that happen within.
Like a duck week.
Sure. So, just so you know that most of the activity is on the edge. Doing okay.
Wait, that's not dark.
And I could even pull some of this sort of sky stuff in there. And maybe
Yes, those guys. Those are eating.
There was a white crane and 2 herons in that clump of trees this morning.
put a little white stuff on there.
I see a nene. That's the Hawaiian state bird.
Yeah.
That goose. Oh, well, it's similar, but the Canadian.
And then I'll just plop a little bit of light yellow on it.
No.
And we don't have a lot of lights and shadows going on up there, but I see bits of little light, sort of gray things happening in there. Little canyons and gullies or whatever they're called. Wow.
Everybody.
Because we're down at Art Center last night, and Lynn was in class, and I thought, I didn't think about it, but I got in the car, and I was kind of, I wish she can walk down the street up here. I think she had a lot of stuff. You kind of have to have that elevator.
Are you at South Campus?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you have to have it. Okay, so just gonna throw in some, I'm looking at those shadows on that mountain there and seeing, okay, well, they're pretty gray. I'd like to see them bluer. And there. For these mountains way back here, what I'll do is just touch a simple amount of little bit of blue in them, should make them feel further away, and then I can contour them. A little bit lighter. Whoops, that was a lot lighter. Some green spring grass on there, you see? But far away, you want to add a lot of blue and white into it. I don't know, I don't think I need that factory in there. Although it's kind of fun. Maybe I'll put little peeps of, like some of that way back there. Little industrial things happening in there, but no big deal. And just flick them over so they feel tucked in. And the darker stuff is obviously here along the shoreline. So hit some nice darks up here in the foreground, or way up in that foreground. And we have some of that. We have some dead grass, or I think they're cattails or something. A nice little Sometimes I'll hit it a little bit darker first. I didn't mean to hit it that dark. But a little bit darker in there first. Just so the lights will have something to bounce off. So sometimes if you just hit the pure light without anything behind it, you know, it needs a couple of little sub-values behind it for something to bounce off. I don't know why. But I can just show you what I mean. It's kind of hard to explain. So if I have that warm there and I pop like this on top of it, it's usually better to do that than just to do that right on top of what's in back of it, because it needs like the background color to come through. Anyway, that's what I do. And then I take some of that right down into the water. So wow, that should have really come down further, huh? And so I'll just take that stuff behind it down there a little further. You'll notice, see all the things that get stretched out. The reflections get distorted because all of the waves, every little wave distorts it a little bit, pulls it down. So see how you get all these verticals, see them? And that's what happens. So I'll put them in like that first, just to get the value right. And then I'll just hit a couple of those little verticals. And then you got to hit a few. And then you see the horizontals. So just think vertical, horizontal. Just remember the ripplage is I throw in like that right over it. And then you get a few little fuzzy things happening along the edges. At that scale, you really don't see too much. You don't really see this sort of ripplage here because this is really close to our eyes. You can really see it. As it gets further away, it just becomes a blur.
But yet so modest and
Pop in. Touches of highlight in that too. As you do that, just pull those right down into the water. And then just fuzz the edges here. Just a little fuzz. Even these shadows occasionally. So that's going that way, that'll go that way. If that's going that way, that'll go that way. I probably don't see too much in here, but I'll pop a little bit in there and then ripple away. You don't have to make my whistling noises if you don't want. Okay, things are coming along. Maybe my highlights are a little bright there. I love the little beaches and things that happen along the shore too. I'll hit a couple of those, and they reflect into the water too. They're really nice little breakups. And I'm seeing a really kind of small tree over here. Over here, a pretty large one. Yeah, these are very dark very dark trunk there. The eagle's nest. It's kind of craggy there. I should put that bunch of brush in front of that here. Another little landform. I kind of forgot about that, sorry. That's a bird.
It's the egret nest.
That's my bird technique. Yeah, I mean that would be kind of fun to put in there, wouldn't it?
Did you see her? Oh, yeah.
So I could put them in my dead sort of branchy stuff, kind of gray, dead, branchy stuff in there. Like some little wands in it. And maybe what I'll do is include a little beach. Maybe this is too much, I don't know. I might be Thomas Kincading this thing out. You know? And I'll put a little beach on there with an egret and a reasonable what. So, but now that I put this in there, I'm going to have to reflect that down into the water. It just never stops. Some light beach activity, and I'll pull that down into my water. I do have now some dark, sort of branchy, good stuff down into there. And if you'll notice, if you look at the actual things along the shore, if you look at the darks in them, they're lighter in the water, see? And if you look at the highlights, they're usually a little bit darker in the water. So the water isn't quite as contrasty as the stuff. And I'm going to throw in a little bit of shadow over here. Shadow. Maybe even give myself a little there. Just right too. You just take that right down to the water. And take yourself down some branchy things. So that's going that way. I'll take it down this way. Whoops, this guy's in the way here. Some of those thingies doing that type of thing, and I'll just welcome. if you look along the shoreline, you tend to have a lot of little activities. What happens is that the water hits the shore and creates a little wake. So you might get a little dark and maybe a little light. It's very glassy right now, but you still can see the little areas. So just for that little separation between, you might want to just acknowledge it. That's even, sometimes I do it with my my palette knife. Oftentimes it's the sky color being, just a couple little moves like that really sort of do it. And then if you want to hit, we're getting some little wind patterns on there now too, so you certainly could just take a few of those and a few of those really sort of remind us it's water. Oh, there we go. Yeah, just a few. I know it might freak you out because I just did all that work. Now I have to put all this stuff over it. Just do it. And then you'll mess it up. And then we'll have to have a heart-to-heart. And then, hey, how were the stairs last night? Was it hard?
No, it was fine.
Okay, I was worried about you. I was thinking.
We all went in a group.
Oh, it's pretty darn light. Pepper it through there. Let's see, well, maybe a little bit of it will be reflected into the.
You see that? Straight across the way, there's that little sandy.
Oh, you put the duckies in there. They do act as sort of a balancing element. I mean, is that why you put them in there?
Yeah.
See. All right, here's a great example of, I mean, we've got red, yellow, and blue in this color field, and little spots of saturation. Look at that, red, blue, yellow.
The ducks also help with scale as well.
Yeah, things you can put in there for scale, definitely. Rough. Well, that really feels. Now, there's a great water technique right there. Look at it. Look how transparent that feels. Did you have that already dry and then drag that over? Or?
Yeah, I think
That's a good technique. It's acrylics. You know, I could get this thing and just, unlike anybody else that's painting around, I could just throw it over there and it would be fine. They're plastic. They're built to take it. Yeah, I would suggest getting thicker. You can paint as thick as oils.
Okay.
I mean, as thick as she's painting over there, really nice and juicy. Now, they do shrink as they dry, if you didn't know that. Acrylics shrink, but...
I try to get a watercolor feel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
But I can make it into an oil feel.
Right. Well, it kind of has both here.
Yeah, right.
Probably too opaque to have the watercolor, although that does feel watercolorish. Now, one thing you might want to also try is taking a piece of thick paper and gessoing it and painting like watery, like almost watercolor effect on it.
Yeah.
You'll get you won't get all these canvas striations in there. It'll
I see.
sort of move around a little bit more like what watercolor does.
Yeah, I tried a wet agent to wet the surface, but still, like you said, the texture shows too thin. The water won't help. Maybe gesso will. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for the suggestion.
Was this the white bird?
Yeah, that was the one
I saw
on
a
the
white
tree
bird,
there.
yeah.
Right.
I think I saw it fly up there. Caught it in flight.
Right.
Pelican.
Look how big they are. Jeez. Look at those pelicans.
Oh, pelicans are
Are you kidding me?
Shelly, what color are they usually?
Well, the ones that